From time to time, I find myself up at 3 in the morning going down the oddest internet rabbit holes, with this week's hyperfixation being ketchup in its almost monopoly popularity in the United States. This started after reading an article about Heinz Ketchup putting a ketchup dispensing billboard in Chicago's Wiener Circle. Yes, the Wiener Circle's a real place. Yes, I Googled it. You don't have to do it, don't worry. The purpose of ketchup is real simple at its core. It's a cheap way to add some moisture and flavor to dry and bland food like chicken nuggets or french fries. Now, personally, I hate ketchup. Don't shoot me for my beliefs, but I cannot stand vinegar. All right, I'd rather raw dog my french fries and chicken nuggets, okay? But you're probably asking yourself now, where did ketchup originate from? We honestly don't have a fucking clue. However, the first mention of ketchup occurs in the 17th century by this guy named John Chamberlain in his book titled The Natural History of Coffee, Tea, Chocolate, and Tobacco. Now, why was ketchup mentioned in a book about coffee, tea, chocolate, and tobacco? Well, let me answer your lovely question. Chamberlain writes about how all of these goods help improve the male sex drive. Truthfully now, as a man who requires his morning iced coffee to even look at my phone, I kind of understand this theory, come on. The way Chamberlain writes about ketchup in 1682 suggests that ketchup has existed in England for a good chunk of time at this point. But Chamberlain's ketchup and what we know today as ketchup are two very different things. Ketchup in the 1600s was not made up of tomatoes. Rather, it was made up of mushrooms and occasionally walnuts. Doesn't that sound delicious? Mushrooms and walnuts were finally swapped out with tomatoes in the 19th century, with the earliest known recipe for tomato ketchup dating from 1812. The invention and sudden rise of tomato ketchup's popularity resulted in a significant increase in tomato consumption in Great Britain. Again, I don't really understand the hype, but to each their own, I guess. Initially, ketchup was bottled and sold as a cottage industry product by farmers, meaning the product was created and sold from one's home. However, the distribution of ketchup changed in 1837 with Jonas Yerkes, who saw the potential of tomato ketchup and began distributing bottled ketchup nationally, making ketchup one of the first prepackaged foods to be sold at the national scale. The birth of modern-day ketchup can be dated back to 1876, when Henry James Heinz started selling Heinz tomato ketchup after the failure of his horseradish, pickles, and sauerkraut business. Heinz ketchup found success due to its increased ratio of sugar and vinegar in his recipe, which improved flavor and its shelf life. Heinz ketchup from the 19th century was still a little bit different from the ketchup you'd find on the shelves today. Ketchup in the late 19th century was usually made up from unripened tomatoes, meaning the condiment lacked flavor and typically was more watery than modern-day ketchup due to lower levels of pectin in unripened tomatoes. Additionally, 19th century ketchup needed an additive called sodium benzate to keep the product fresh. Concerns regarding the use of sodium benzate in the beginning of the 20th century ultimately led to the creation of ketchup sold today in stores. In order to create a product that would last on shelves without sodium benzate as a preservative, unripe tomatoes were swapped out with ripe tomatoes, and more sugar and vinegar was added, which resulted in the creation of the ketchup we know and love today. And now you're as knowledgeable as me on the brief history of ketchup. Use this information however you please. Maybe tell a little drunk story about it. Who knows? Surprise a friend. I don't care what you do with it. Anyways, if you like my content, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Adios.